the Vikings, he hasn't exactly had quality time with his top receivers, with Jordan Addison suspended for 3 games and Jalen Naylor with a hand injury. They were very happy to get Justin Jefferson back from a hamstring injury, but obviously this is the kind of injury they're going to have to continue to monitor. And as for Jefferson, he's now had 6 different quarterbacks throwing to him in his 5-year NFL career. Adding a 7th likely won't impact his production, though. He averages over 96 receiving yards per game for his career, the most in NFL history among over 3,400 pass catchers to play at least 50 games. Wow. So McCarthy's worked with 8 different receivers on the first team. Bill, what are the Vikings doing to support their young quarterback going into this season?
Well, a young quarterback's best friend outside of maybe Jameis Winston, based on the first segment, is running the football. And that is what I think the Vikings are going to lean into this year based on their offseason moves. Look at what they're telling us with their transactions. Well, they trade for Jordan Mason, who's going to help out Aaron Jones, and then they rebuild the interior of that offensive line. They sign Ryan Kelly and Will Fries away from the Colts. They use their first-round pick on Donovan Jackson. 3 new interior linemen around those excellent tackles in Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill. This has been one of the most pass-happy teams in football on early downs over the last few years. Nothing wrong with that, but J.J. McCarthy's coming from an offense where, frankly, it wasn't like he was Patrick Mahomes. They were running the ball a lot at Michigan, and he was throwing when they needed to. So running the ball more often, not putting him in 3rd and long, that's going to be a way the Vikings make his life easier in what really is his rookie season.
I just checked in with the source in Minnesota just to gauge. With all the injuries, I know we'll get into the receiver situation in a minute, but with all the injuries, how confident are you that J.J. McCarthy will be ready to execute this offense, to operate what needs to happen week 1? And I was told a 7. And for a number of different reasons, it's the short-term memory. People forget that in the game that he got injured in the preseason last year, he threw an interception, and then he finishes that game with a couple of different touchdown passes. So the short-term memory he's been able to display, whether it be in practice, going against that Brian Flores defense that he goes through every single day, turning that into a great joint practice against what's projected to be a top 10 defense with the New England Patriots last week. The pieces are in place. The verbiage is going to shrink. The playbook is going to shrink for J.J. McCarthy. But Hannah, Lucky Jackson, Deshaun Jones, Thayer Thomas, do any of those names ring a bell?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Those are the receivers that he was throwing to this past week. Yes. No one has taken a snap in an NFL game. It feels like they have to sign somebody here.
What about that, Jeremy?
Yes, they have to sign somebody or trade for somebody, which I expect they will do in the next 3 or 4 days as roster cuts come. Adam Thielen, he's the name that is out there. There's a potential reunion on the books. Here's what I understand about the situation. The Vikings inquired to Carolina about early in the week, and then it was sort of quiet, but it's still out there as a possibility. The Panthers are not just going to give Thielen away. This is not a roster cut situation. He's really a part of their 3 receiver sets with the young players and Bryce Young. They like Thielen a lot, so they would have to come to some sort of agreement. He's due $6+ million in salary too. They'd have to figure out the money. So Minnesota's looking at other options as well, league-wide. They're talking to a lot of teams about the potential of adding a receiver. I do expect them to add one here soon.
Yeah, I mean, what a comforting guy for a young quarterback to have.
And he knows this offense. Let's not forget. I mean, Adam Thielen is the feel-good story in Minnesota. We both covered him at separate, different stints in Minnesota, and he's worked with J.J. McCarthy. They were a part of throwing sessions. It was C.J. Ham, T.J. Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen this offseason, so he already has that familiarity with his would-be pass catcher. And red zone threat? Wouldn't it be good to have Adam Thielen down there and on top of Justin Jefferson as well?
Absolute money in the red zone. Bill?
Yeah, the Vikings did clear out $3.7 million in cash with the Harrison Phillips trade earlier this week. So I know Jerry mentioned that over $6 million base salary. Maybe that clears out some of the money they get that done. Maybe Carolina eats part of it to get a draft pick. They have some young receivers they like in Carolina as well. So clearing out some reps for someone like maybe a Jalen Coker would make sense. So kind of everyone could benefit here. We just have to sort of see if we can get everything over the finish line.
Yeah, Thielen would be a cool full circle story. Obviously, Jeremy's going to be all over that. All right, as we're moving on to some top stories with Jeremy, Jerry Jones has been making the rounds big time with media outlets in support of his new documentary. But of course, what everybody's asking about is his star, Micah Parsons, who has asked for a trade. And Jerry has not been shy on that subject. He feels that he and Micah had a deal. Jones sat down with Stephen A. in a podcast that releases today.
There's right now about 3 entities involved in the Micah Parsons deal. that really count. And that's not to dismiss everything about the organization and the Cowboys.
What are the three entities?
Micah, me, sitting out there, and about a mile back is that agent.
Man, he's not only insulting his player, he's insulting one of the most powerful agents in the business, David Mulligetta. What's going on with this standoff?
Well, Hannah, Micah Parsons is in a precarious spot because he wants to be traded, but quietly he's getting ready for a season. I'm told that he's essentially doing 2-a-days on his own. He's lifting and he's running. He's in all the meetings. So there are people with the building who believe that he will be ready to play week 1 and that he will play week 1. If you ask around on the player side, you don't necessarily get the same answer, that he's pretty dug in. So something has to give. They got about 10 to 12 days to figure something out. They've gotten trade inquiries from other teams. Dallas right now, I'm told, is not inclined to move on and make a trade on Micah Parsons. They want to keep him. Next, we have Brian Robinson Jr. traded to the San Francisco 49ers for a 6th-round pick. The Washington Commanders will cover a portion of his $3+ million salary, so this helps both teams. 49ers were decimated by injuries at running back behind Christian McCaffrey. They get some much-needed help. Now Washington gets to crystallize their running back room. Austin Eckler, 3rd down back. They have a young rookie, Bill Krosky-Merritt, they really like. Some other veterans will get some looks as well, and sort of a by-committee approach at running back in Washington. And you got the QBs with the Saints. Big weekend for both Spencer Rattler, who you see there, and Tyler Shuck, the rookie. My sense after asking around the league is that, Rattler could have a slight edge right now, but it has been pretty close enough to where Kellen Moore wants to see more. He needed to get through this week to be able to determine who his starter is going to be. But, Shuck has had some bright moments, so he's made a little bit of a move, and things are definitely in flux in New Orleans, but they're going to have a new signal caller regardless. They're still trying to sort all that out through the weekend.
Yeah, and if they don't sort it out this season, there's always the quarterback-heavy draft coming up, which a lot of folks there are focused. Essentially a rookie. J.J. McCarthy, as Lindsay Theory joins us now with more on the Titans. So how much should we expect Ward to play tonight?
Hannah, Cam Ward definitely will be out there tonight, Coach Brian Callahan saying, but it's still to be determined exactly how long he will remain on the field, and it's proven to be a fluid situation. Just last week, it was expected Cam Ward would play about 2 series. He actually went out there for a 3rd series just so he could get a few more plays off. Callahan says, though, at this point, he is encouraged by where his rookie quarterback is at. He says he's really doing well from an operations standpoint. As for how the rookie himself is feeling, Cam Ward says he feels really close to fully understanding this Titans offense and this playbook. He says the key right now is just to get some few more reps in there so we can really nail down and dial in on the scheme of the protections and some route adjustments that may need to be made. Going into tonight, his main focus will be playing fast and getting in and out of the huddle. And our main focus is this band warming up right now.
Exactly. I was going to say, Lindsay, you are in mid-season form there, talking over the music. We appreciate you, as always. That's Lindsay Theory. Thank you. Meanwhile, we had a fun article from Bill Barnwell this week, taking a deep dive on some teams he thinks can improve on their win totals from last season. And one team he sees taking a big step forward is Jacksonville. Here's what Bill wrote. It was a 2024 season coin flips for the Jags, who had 13 of their 17 games decided by 7 or fewer points. They went 1-3 and were outscored by a combined 86 points in the 4 games that weren't one-score contests, which doesn't exactly speak highly of what former coach Doug Peterson cooked up. But they were unlucky to finish with just 4 wins. So, gentlemen, Liam Cohen comes to town, hopefully to revitalize Trevor Lawrence's career as he did with Baker Mayfield. But, Bill, you point to something on the defensive side of the ball that you think could be a difference maker. What is it?
It's turnovers, something they forgot to have last year. It really was missing from them throughout the entire year. They had just 1 multi-takeaway game all of last season. That's tied for the fewest of any team in NFL history. And they noticed because they went out this offseason and they spent a lot of money and a lot of stuff on the secondary. They signed Eric Murray to play safety. They signed Jordan Lewis to a big deal to play at slot corner. And then the big move, of course, Travis Hunter, who comes in not only as an incredible coverage cornerback, but also, we know, special ball skills because, hey, he happens to play wide receiver when he's not playing cornerback. this team intercepted just 6 passes all of last year. Not only are they going to intercept more passes and help out the defense, that's going to help the offense, which inherited the worst average starting field position of any offense in football a year ago because they weren't getting short fields from those turnovers. So more takeaways, more interceptions, better defense, better offense, hopefully a better football team.
And the best thing to help a struggling offense is an offensive playmaker, a guy like Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is listed as a starter on the offensive side of the ball. He's listed as a backup on defense. Travis Hunter, you add him as one of the best wide receivers coming out of college. Add him to Brian Thomas, and all of a sudden you get Liam Cohen, an offensive mind. You don't have to rely on your defense to score points. You can add playmakers. De'Ami Brown's been added as well. And oh, by the way, there's conversation of Jacksonville being in the wide receiver market. Sean Payton just revealed it when they just traded Vele just not too long ago. So the best way for this offense to get better and to be less sporadic is to get more playmakers, which they have in Travis Hunter, and also what they're looking for when it comes to a few trades that may happen in the next few weeks.
They need Hunter on offense, they need him on defense, and they need him to stay healthy. It's as simple as that. All right, encouraging performance by Caleb Williams in the preseason in week 2. What's the plan tonight against Kansas City?
Starters will play, to be determined for how long, but Kansas City starters are also going to play, so that means he goes against a starting defense for however long he's out there. And the big thing from Ben Johnson, pretty soon they're going to start condensing the playbook. They have been challenging Caleb Williams in ways that he has never had as a football player, to challenging playing within structure, long verbiage, a playbook that is immense, 12 different installs. As soon that gets pared down, but how do you play within the confines of this offense? Starting with getting the ball snapped. There are still instances during Wednesday's practice where Caleb's breaking the huddle at 10 seconds. He tries to get to the line of scrimmage, realizes he has to kill the play. It's 2 seconds on the play clock. Can't get that off in time, delay of game. That's what they don't want to see, Hannah, because those were some of the pre-snap issues that had been occurring throughout training camp, especially early on. This late in the game, they want to see those mistakes cleaned up. They want to see a clean operation in terms of what he's doing when the ball actually is snapped, going under center, being in the shotgun, being able to deliver the ball with timing and anticipation, all the things that you saw against Buffalo, carrying over one more week in the final preseason game.
Yeah, what I want to see is, how does Caleb Williams handle adversity? Last year he got sacked 68 times, and on many of those sacks you saw him on the ground, not really inspiring confidence. Sure, you can blame it on the offensive line. You can blame it on the former play callers. But what happens if you get sacked or take a couple losses or you go on a short losing streak? You can talk about winning all you want, but at the end of the day, the quarterback is the leader of the team. You need to be able to inspire confidence. And so when things go good, like you've seen in the preseason, yeah, it's all fine. But what happens when you go through a rough patch? What is your demeanor? How are you leading the guys around you? How do you get out of that time when you're not quote unquote winning? That's what I'm most excited and eager to see from Caleb Williams this season.
And that's something that Sam brings up. They've worked on specifically with Caleb Williams, body language. When Ben Johnson got settled in at Hallis Hall, not long after, he and Caleb Williams are watching back tape from last year, being like, is this what we want to be? We don't want to be a palms up team. We don't want to give up body language that looks like a defeatist mindset. And
they've seen that before, by the way.
They've seen it in games.
Jay Cutler, I just keep thinking about him on the sideline.
But the thing that Ryan Poles told me is that there aren't days in the building, even after tough practices, like we've talked about, there's been the couple steps forward, one step back. Even on those days where he has a bad practice, he's not sulking in the building. It's not an issue with him, and that's something that they've been very conscious to work on with Caleb.
Well, there's nowhere to turn. I mean, if it really begins and ends with Caleb, and they have the second hardest schedule in the NFL, so hopefully everybody will be very patient. All right, staying in the division, J.J. McCarthy will finally get